Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Overanalyze Movies, the live video podcast for people who are looking for a deeper conversation about the films we watch today. Let's get into it. That's right, everyone. Tonight we are going to be doing a deep dive on Predator Badlands, which one might just assume is just a fun night out at the movies. I'm going to argue, although perhaps not with my co-host, who I think may feel the same way, that there is more going on in this 78th edition of the Predators / Aliens combo franchise. But that before we get into that, I think it's time to bring on my co-host with the most, the man, the myth. Oh wait, let's get the cue going. The legend, my Borscht bro, Mr. Jim Chaboyko. How you doing, my friend?
Youcha podcast alone. Just kidding. Of course we don't.
Good one.
That would be boring, I think, if you had only like single person podcasts throughout the whole podcast universe. But anyhow. Yeah, good. New year. We haven't done this for a while.
Like, I will do an episode, and then you do an episode responding and providing me for stuff to respond to.
But no, I need a New Year's beard trim, evidently. But other than that, yeah, things are going okay. For the days are getting a little bit longer, and I have to say, watch out next week. There's a gentleman by the name of David Ehrlich who does the 25 best films.
Right.
I just found out today he does the best montage, and they're about 20 to 30 minutes long.
Yeah,
and you can look at all of them for the past 5, 6, 7, 8 years. He does such a great job that it makes me emotional. I was joking on Threads the other day that it's literally 10% of my personality is watching these things, but it's going to be released on the 20th. So watch out for that. You will not be, it'll make you just hungry to watch even more movies. It's the best thing anyway.
you know what? That's great. I think I saw one of your posts on that, maybe just asking the Threads universe, Threadiverse, to tell you when it's coming out. Apparently, somebody gave you an answer.
I had asked last year, and somebody, and I couldn't remember what platform I asked on, and then I saw on I decided to look him up on Instagram.
Yeah.
And he just had a little bit of a bleat out today, and he just said, yeah, releasing it on the 20th. And it's also it's a fundraiser too. So he accepts funds for various Palestinian children's.
Oh, fantastic.
So that's all wrapped up in that too.
Yeah. Of course, we are in our darkest timeline. Jim, I want to draw attention to your attention, and any of our viewers watching live or on replay. Usually I have a flag just kind of highlighting a country or a community that we support, but here we are on January 12th in the darkest timeline, and I'm like, I'd have to have I'd have to have like 3 flags up there. Venezuela, Greenland, of course, always, and I'm kind of disappointed in all these communities. I get why. I do understand the context, but it's like, if there are ever two communities that should be in solidarity here in North America, it's Ukrainian and Palestinian.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, yes, there's talk of peace in Palestine, or not in Palestine, in Ukraine. It sounds like Russia's getting everything it wants. Getting squeezing squeezing Ukraine and getting the break it needs to retool so it can start a war again later.
Yeah.
You know, just similar, well, maybe not similar, same but different to the ceasefire in Palestine, which the Israelis basically violate immediately and continuously. You know?
Yeah. And soon it's gonna be welcome to Nakba Club Med.
Yeah.
You know, in a few years, if certain
Jesus
people have their way.
H Christ, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I did see a great thing on Threads. I mean, none of these things are good. But, dear Lord, I am so glad I don't follow anything on Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, deep fake child porn site. Jesus. But I did see a great post going through all the red carpet pictures of the Golden Globes and with bullets under them. It's basically saying, well, in Darfur, this is happening. It's the Sudan.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the real news. And it showed the various fashions.
Yeah.
And it had headlines just below that. I think I saw the same.
Yeah. If I can pull it up, I will. But Jim, you did see the Golden Globes. I, of course, find the Golden Globes ridiculous. At the same time, they still affect what we do. It is part of what's talked about in film. So why don't you give us a recap?
Sure. Yeah. I don't, in terms of surprises, I guess it was surprising that Sinners didn't win more of what it was. It won Best Composer and Best Box Office Achievement. And that's Ludwig. Yeah.
What the is best box office achievement?
I don't know. Can't you just count that? Like, isn't it the winner? I guess in relation to how much the movie cost, or a few people were asking that this morning on roundups or reviews. So, but yeah, I think it was a bit shut out. One battle after another, won a bunch. And good for that. Like I'm one of those people, a few people on Threads that like both movies. And so there's quite a little bit of an internecine war going on.
Which,
well, it's a binary thing. Apparently you can either like Sinners or you can like One Battle, but perhaps not both. So,
I mean,
but for a movie that's so political like One Battle, seriously, how does that get made these days?
Yeah.
And good that it did, but for a movie like that, a lot of people were commenting that there wasn't a lot political said on stage. The most, there's a few jokes here and there, but the most political anybody got was Mark Ruffalo on the red carpet, and he fully went into it, and good on him, because Kevin. The Black Entertainment Tonight reporter didn't shut him down. He kept on asking and then kind of questions.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? And he sort of probed a bit. So whereas you could have been like, oh, none of that today. Mark Ruffalo said,
but what do you think about Jennifer Lawrence's dress?
Yes.
And please don't talk about the 6 people killed in Mississippi Rampage.
That was crazy. He said basically, I love being here. I love all these people, but at the same time, what's going on? Like, how is this happening to our country? And he sort of went on at length. And Kevin Hart, is that his name? Sort of a clean-shaven black guy. I've been watching him for years, but his name's just dropped. But yeah, he engaged him, and it didn't shut it down. And there was nobody saying, "Okay, cut to another person."
Yeah,
keep it happy. Nobody did that, but that was probably the most political it got the whole night there. I'm thinking perhaps one of the reasons why is that over half the people who were in the crowd work in the States. Probably not American, like they got to watch their neck. But anyway. So that was, those were a couple things. Nikki Glaser did a not bad job. And interestingly, there was a Nikki Glazer ad because she's coming to Centennial Concert Hall in Winnipeg here in August, I think. So that was good ad placement. One of the things Dan Murrell was commenting, he said the music was there's sort of odd choices, not necessarily organic choices, but it was very coded. So when Judd Apatow came on stage, they played that Bruno Mars and Rose from Blackpink, the Korean singer. They played APT, like pacha pacha pacha. The letters being APT and Judd Apatow. So there's these little sort of puzzles involved with it. And then when Macaulay Culkin came out, there was a song they played apparently called "Return of the Mac." So there was some thought there, but. Yeah, other than that, there was a couple shots of the guys from Heated Rivalry, which delighted my daughter to a great extent.
Who won?
And
who are some of the big winners?
Buddy Timothy Chalamet won for Marty Supreme. Yeah. I believe that was in comedy. One battle after the other won. I think that was in comedy too. The whole comedy music thing is kind of a weird one.
It's such I'm sorry. It's such a bullshit award.
Yeah.
I don't know why I say the swear, miss my censor button, and then I repeat it with the censor like that fixes anything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there were some good ones. A lot, some of them they didn't show. And then, Stellan Skarsgård won for Best Supporting Actor for Sentimental Value, and that was somebody was saying like, oh, he looked like he was a little bit, wobbly up there. He's going through some. He's aging quick, and there was a piece out that he's having a hard time remembering his lines. So good on him, and he had a great thing. He basically said, "Go to the movies. Cinema is meant to be seen in a cinema." I'm paraphrasing badly, but it was kind of when all your you're all there in a crowd and your hearts are all beating at the same time. That's how you watch movies. And it seemed like a genuine thing and not like an AMC ad, But a lot of little oddities. There was a podcast award and it was all celebrity podcasts, and Amy Poehler won. And so one of the big winners was the movie Secret Agent, which we had gone to see a movie.
We did record a See It or Skip It.
We did record, yep. Set in the heat of Brazil while we were experiencing a literal blizzard outside in Winnipeg. And strangely, we were the only, probably because of the blizzard, the forecasted blizzard that we knew about, we went anyway, and we were the only two in the audience. Yeah. But it won Best Foreign Picture, and Wagner Moura won Best Actor. Cool. for like serious movie, not comedy.
Yeah.
So so Brazil was apparently pretty happy, and so it's just we'll be talking about Secret Agent perhaps in the future.
Yeah. Moving forward, Jim.
Sure.
Tonight, my friend, we are talking about Predator Badlands. Dear Lord, 1 second. Well, that was a terrible belch. We are talking about Predator Badlands. Here's my log line, because as we discussed in the Digital Green Room before the show, I thought the one that they gave to IMDb sucked ass. And once again, I keep missing.
You've missed your calling.
Oh. Okay, here's my log line. Deck, a young Yautja runt. The Yautja being their name, the predator species. A young Yautja runt cast out of his clan by his own father seeks redemption and acceptance by traveling to the death planet Jenna to hunt the ultimate adversary and prove that he is a true predator, prey to none.
Very nice.
Of course, thank you very much, Jim. Of course, there's more to it than that. Emotionally, it is a hero's journey.
Hmm.
Um, it is a callow youth becomes a man. You know, there's
Yeah.
more to it than that, but, I am gonna since we already and I'll put our see it or skip it. We did do a see it or skip it. Um, I'll put a link to it up here, and as far as I'm concerned, Jim, we should just jump into, the spoiler zone.
You've been warned.
Yes, you have. All right, Jim, let's get
Hmm.
started this way. You have rewatched the film, as have
Yeah.
I. Let me ask you this: Do you are you as enthusiastic about the film now as you were before?
Yeah, I was watching it again, and the first chunk of the movie, I was sort of like, yeah, yeah, this is good. You're used to some of the beats, but I think, and I was thinking, am I underwhelmed? Did I like it more the first time? Which is perfectly normal, when you're watching a new movie. But I think it's once there's a campfire scene about a third of the way in where they sort of have a conversation where Elle Fanning's character, the bot, and the Yautja. Thank God
Yeah,
for translators. um, they have a conversation with Bud, their third, in there, just doing his thing, and it came together for me there. The what was her? Help me out. What was her name
Thea
again?
and her
Thea. That's
twin
right.
sister Tess
Just watched the ending of
or
it, and I should.
Tessa.
But the Thea character is one that I was worried that she's almost like Annie Edison. I was joking earlier on Community, or even the Rose McIver character on Ghosts, where she's just sort of like almost like a teacher's pet type, chatty, and boy, this is such a beautiful planet,
Upbeat,
and upbeat, and you're sort of wondering, oh, is this a one note thing? And
almost a
I
little pushy,
pushy
like in
and
an
just,
emotional
yeah,
way.
like that kind of happy chatterbox. And I thought,
Yeah.
is this going to get tiring? And then once we hit the campfire scene, it becomes apparent that that's just a part of her character, and that she's a lot more perceptive. Like she picks up on things, of course. And she
She
says
was
later on,
designed that way.
she was designed to experience emotion and to be able to empathize.
Yeah.
Now, under the Wayland Yutani rubric, that's only so they can kill and imprison more things, but
Yeah.
but it seems to work out in the
So,
the
uh,
Youch's
I'll
favor
go
in this
back to my
case.
question. Are you as
Oh, sorry.
more or less
Yeah, sorry, I got rambly. Yeah, yeah, about the same. Yeah,
about the same?
and by the end, I was just like, that's a good one. I don't think it's going to come out on Criterion, so I don't know if I'll pick up the DVD. But yeah, maybe one of these days if it has enough extras. Yeah, it's and I think part of the reason why I liked it so much is it was such a surprise. Like I was sort of worried it would just be like a paint by numbers sci-fi thing,
Yeah.
and it really wasn't. And there's a lot of smart stuff going on in there, and a lot of fun stuff
Well,
too.
give us one. What comes to mind when you think about like this is one of several, Predator films. The
Mhm.
second Trachtenberg is directed. He of course directed Prey. Um,
Yeah,
One set in 1700s, like 18th century
the First Nations. Yeah, yeah,
Wyoming, I
yeah.
think, like Comanche girl. I think it was Comanche, or was she Apache? Comanche. Not 100% sure. Anyway, what why do you think this one's different?
I
What
I think
what does he
because
bring to the table that
it
makes it, like you said, not the same?
it for me, it turned the Predator character on its head. It
Yeah.
gave us for the first time, and not just for a scene or two, but it gave us a vulnerable Predator.
Well, he's
And
not
it's interesting
oops,
because
sorry.
our
He's not a
deck.
monster,
It's okay. No,
you
but
know?
because we see him from the start, we're not sort of, he doesn't sort of lower his invisibility cloak and he's like, "Bleh, I'm gonna kill you," like we watch him from this, like we're there all along with him for the ride. And the interesting thing is that yeah, he does come across as young, whether it's his hairstyle, like the long braids, or the smooth skin compared to his father, or just the way he carries himself and the way that he is sort of
But
suckered, like he
even
doesn't.
the setup, the
Yeah.
setup's all like he is going through an initiation ritual. His
Mhm.
older brother saying, "You're too emotional.
Yeah.
You're too emotional and you're too small. Use the cave," which
Yeah.
kind of that thematically comes in the third act where he's got to use the environment. He's got to calm down. He's got to use his smarts because he
Yeah.
doesn't have the physicality,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
but that it's this angry, like any teenager, I can do it and I don't need anybody's help. But he's also traumatized because he finds out his
Mm.
dad wants to kill him.
You're
Like
grieving, she says.
everything, but everything at that beginning is to set us up to be on his side, but
Mhm.
also have these moments where how can you not feel for him?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's the
Oh,
the setup is
shit, I
pretty
did
great.
it
Again,
again.
he comes across as young, and not as street smart. And there's so you have the he's competent in the
Yeah,
physical sense, but mentally he falls for a couple things. The bot sort of uses him to get back to the base, to get back to her legs
yeah,
where she can meet Tessa. And then he realizes this. He goes, "Oh, Yocha, don't get used. I do the using." But no, you got played, bud. You got used. I trusted you, and he's super angry about it. So that's and then there's another close to the end where he said, he's talking to the Elle Fanning character. What the hell's her name again? Sorry,
Thea
Thea.
or
Sorry,
Tess.
yeah,
Which one? No,
Thia.
no,
So
which one?
he's talking to Thea.
Okay,
They're both in,
let's say
you know,
good or bad.
the good bot.
Yeah,
Yeah. So the good bot, he's talking to her and he says, she says, once we figure out everything, it'll be a good day. And he goes, "Yes, it will be a good day. I will capture the Kalisk and you will witness it. It will be a good day for you. It'll be an honor for you." And then later on, when he's imprisoned by Tessa,
yeah,
she says to him, "You'll get to see what we do with you. This will be an honor for you." So a lot of these things get thrown back in his face.
yeah,
In a way, he's sort of a combination, and this is what I came up with on the quick just tonight. I thought, what characters does he remind me of? And he's like half Rambo and half a Tom Hanks character when he gets really exasperated. Like I think the Money Pit. He's like, "Oh," like he's so like things aren't working out for him, but
well,
he's still got that physical competence. So,
yeah,
and he's got the swagger that he hasn't quite achieved yet. So
yeah.
he's kind of a fascinating portrayal that we didn't get from any of the other Predators. Not that we had time with them, but um, yeah, no, it's a really great character.
Yeah. What do you think? Like one of the title of this podcast, I think the overarching question is, yeah, we've established he's the good guy,
Mm,
not just the protagonist, he's not just like Willard in Apocalypse Now.
yeah.
He is Trachtenberg and his writing team, the folks they want us to empathize with them, but more than that, they want I'm not sure that Coppola wants us to see Willard succeed,
Mm,
but Trachtenberg wants us to want Deck to succeed.
mm,
Um, Beyond that, we want Deck to grow emotionally because he is, I would, I, I think, yeah, everything is a look at this young man, not this immature young man,
yeah.
and so I kind of wonder, you know, why 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 do you think, like, what do you think Trachtenberg, beyond the obvious, hey, let's have a cracking good yarn, but
Mhm.
think about who this movie's for. You know, why this character? Why the runt? Why, beyond it's easy sympathy and all that? Because I don't think, nothing about this character, nothing about this movie felt going through the motions.
No, no.
Even that first act, yeah, we've seen it. Like anything where you're laying pipe, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, aside from a couple of the key set pieces in the first 20 minutes of Star Wars, for crying out loud, it's like, yeah, we can I don't need to see the robots go through the desert.
Yeah.
So what is my question there? I did have a question, I swear to God.
Well, I
What
wanted to
oh,
bring.
yeah.
Yeah, you
Go.
mentioned is he a good guy? And
Well,
I'd
I'm not
say
asking you to answer it right now.
okay,
Yeah, that's not, it's the overarching question. We'll come to that at the end.
okay,
But he is the good guy. You'd agree with me.
yes,
Would you agree with me with that Trachtenberg wants us to not just empathize, but sympathize with them?
yes, yeah,
Whereas, say, a recent movie, we talked about, I'll put a link here. Uh, when we're talking about Willard in Apocalypse Now, it's like, at the end of it, do you feel anything for him? Do you go, oh, wow, that was quite the journey? It was quite the journey, but do you go, oh,
mhm,
I'm so glad he killed Kurtz?
yeah, yeah,
It's like, no, you feel drained and kind of go, oh, let's get the hell out of here.
yeah, yeah.
This sucks. All
Let's
of
go to
this
the
is
arcade.
crazy and shitty.
Yeah,
I don't mean that there's some movies where you're like, well, why were we here? I'm not saying that's Apocalypse Now. What I am saying, though, is at the end of this movie, you're happy for. I was never happy for Willard, but
mhm,
I'm happy for Deck.
yeah.
You know, why do you think? First of all, why do you think Trachtenberg made this character this way? Who do you think he was making it for?
Mhm.
Oh
Well,
my
not.
God, I got to a question, Jim.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. For chicks? I'm just kidding. It's funny. I tried to synopsize this for a friend, and it's hard to describe it without making it seem like the sensitive predator, which is sort of what it is, but it does it in such a graceful, and he doesn't get there immediately, the story is told in such a graceful way that he sort of earns his destination. By the end of the movie, he earns that emotional destination. Who's it for? I don't know. I have to think that working on all these, what is there, 7 Predator movies now? I know Dan Merle was doing the sort of the comparing the box office of all of them, and you have this one, and you have that one, and Aliens versus Predator, and that one with you know
Whatever.
this, yeah,
Many movies. Who cares?
yeah, and
So
and
fucking many of them, pardon my French, that it's like, oh, they start, you
I
tune
have to
them
think that
out.
the challenge is to come up with something new, perhaps at the very base. I don't know if
That's
that
not
was
the
maybe
question I'm asking, though. Like
what's that?
that's any director who wants to make
Yeah,
something great. It's like, how do I retell this story?
but I don't know how you tell a story about a
Who
killing
is it
machine.
for?
Yeah, I don't.
I here
Well,
I'm gonna
for me,
this is the way. Well, I do think it's okay. Now, mind you, this is something I read years ago, which I keep coming back to, even though I've never been able to find the source of it, Jim. It
mhm,
was, but basically, the argument was all movies are made, and all the big movies are made aimed at 14-year-old boys, and all pop music is made aimed at 15-year-old girls.
uh-huh,
And I gotta admit, at times I'm like, "Oh my god, that really is the case." Uh, but especially in this film, Jim, I think this is aimed squarely at that demographic. This is not a four-quadrant film. This is not a Disney flick. It is aimed at teen and, yeah, it's aimed at young men and the young at heart like ourselves.
Yes.
You know, I'm not saying that women wouldn't find anything out of this, that there is no women who don't like this stuff on its own.
Mhm.
But I think most of the young women we would see in a theater in this would have been brought by someone or going supporting. It's like, well, I know you like this stuff, Lou. Let's go to this.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a way to look at it's a lens. So when we look at this, why is it this way? I think that we can start from there. This is aimed at young men. And I think part of it, even for ourselves, especially at a time like this, where you feel
Mhm.
vulnerable and weak, this is like it's it is it goes to a similar place, the competent man
Mhm.
kind of thing goes. I think it does more interesting things, but I think it goes to a similar place. It's showing the story of someone young, weak, unseasoned, untested, going through a test, but unlike so many of these things where they almost always it's about you got to be ready to fight on your own. Here, it's the reverse. It's
Yeah.
he is cut off from his family, cut cut off from these things, and like this is my whole point as a yautja, as a predator, to be prey to none, to need no one. And this movie is saying, no, you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the reason I had difficulty answering, or I have difficulty answering this one is I have to think it's a bit of a risk at the same time because I've you know tiringly there was a bunch of online palaver about, oh, this is a woke predator and oh, he learns a lesson, that's bad, almost taking it from Yautja uh, um, belief anyway, where they're sitting around the campfire
You're all the
saying
dad.
sensitivity is bad, and so yeah, I would have to think automatically that
Quay was a
it
dummy for sacrificing for his brother,
yeah,
Deck.
yeah,
Even though
loyalty.
in that whole scene, we find out that Deck saved Quay's life in
Yeah.
that very beginning.
Yeah, but yeah, it's for the young guys, but boy, it had to have been a risk because you are doing this is a new look. This is like a new kind of a Predator movie.
I absolutely,
And it
but
did well, and it made six figures
yeah,
domestically, I believe.
yeah,
It maybe didn't crack the top 10 or anything, but I think it did quite well and internationally as
yeah.
well. So
Yeah, no, I'm sure it's a good earner for them.
yeah.
It doubled their budget, not in money-making territory, but I think this'll have other opportunities for it. I I don't think it's the risk you think it is. The online, those woke, anti-woke, they're never happy unless they're like Matt Walsh, that that piece of unless they're like those chuds who are so frightened, so insecure that everything's got to be a big masculine display,
Yeah.
but that most boys and even young men, you know what? The privacy you'd mentioned about Stellan Skarsgård talking about the greatness of the
Cinema.
cinema experience. And yes, it is communal, but it's still private. It's in the dark. You know,
Hmm.
you don't
Yeah.
have to, your heart isn't open. You may be feeling what the crowd's feeling, but it's not like they're in your head.
Hmm.
You know, I think these guys don't like it because they can feel it too, what little is out there. Yeah, and it's like all things. Matt Walsh saying international law is gay. What the but that's like from when we were kids,
Yeah.
you know? What gay? Are you
Yowcha,
kidding
not
me?
cry.
You loser? Yeah. And it's that idea that I think is this movie challenges, but that for its target market, I mean, it's young boys. I just as I enjoyed, and let's think of a similar one, Star Wars. Luke Skywalker is not a manly man. He
Yeah.
is a callow youth who has to learn and grow over the course of an arc where he literally throws his weapon down. You know,
Yeah.
he says,
Yeah.
nope, not doing that. I'm checking out. At the end, it's the culmination of there's a good guy. You
Mhm.
know, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars is a good guy. And I think this guy that's Deck, it's going to the same place. You know, and it's sincerely going to the same place.
Mhm.
I mean, certainly, you know, 20 plus years or 50 plus years later, a totally different kind of
Slightly different route.
movie landscape,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's a very similar idea. It is still it's a hunter story.
Yeah.
It's a worry. It's still very masculine coded. That's why I think it's important to talk about who it's made for. You know,
Mhm.
it's not made for the four quadrants. It's not for the whole family. It's not for boys and girls. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not saying that. And again, I want to say to anyone out there, you're a woman of any age. Can you enjoy this? Absolutely, you can. But
Yeah. Yeah.
no woman is going to go in there. It's like, well, thank God there's this great supporting character. You know, now I feel represented. You know, they're
Yeah.
going to go, yeah, this movie was not meant with, Trachtenberg wasn't thinking, oh, this is for that young woman. Prey, different conversation. But here
Yeah.
I think it's aimed predominantly at boys and young men, and it's showing a path through vulnerability and cooperation.
Mhm.
And
It's like Sesame Street.
yeah. um even and let's put a pin on the scenery and some of their almost Lord of the Rings type walking scenes. Because
Mhm.
this for 100 and it's 108 minutes, including credits,
There's a lot of
has
credits. Yeah.
some great pace control scenes where it's like, okay, now we're just going to walk in what becomes a more and more beautiful landscape that makes me think of Love and Monsters,
No. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? But where was I going with this? Walking.
Pace,
Oh,
walking
the
scenes.
end. Writing, I've even taken his course, but uh, LA writer Michael Jamin, he
Oh yeah.
for him, his beat, he thinks the final beat of a good story should always be joyful defeat. And you see it in this. What is his goal? To get the Kalisk, come back and earn his place in the clan. What
Mhm.
does he get? He brings back the child of the Kalisk, his now his foster child,
Mhm.
and he has his own clan and he repudiates his old clan. You know,
Yeah.
there's no atonement with the father. There's just I'm going to do what you did to my brother.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you
Yeah. I
think
mean,
there?
yeah. Yeah. No. I think that's not a bad summation. I sort of wonder too, like not being an expert in audience. Most of the Predator movies have to do with a lot of killing, and so does this one. Let's be clear. In this case, it's mostly an army of clones that gets killed, so that's okay. Which is such a great Hollywood out. Like, kill a bunch of robots
I
and
was thinking about
tear their heads off, and
I
you
can't
can
remember
do
what the movie
whatever.
was, but we were talking about that,
Yeah,
about the
yeah,
white
just
uniformed masked
yeah, yeah. They're not
baddies.
even stormtroopers. They're just bots.
Yeah.
So fill your boots, and but you go to these things and you want to just see nifty fights and cool ways of killing, and just like the skull ripped out with the backbone attached. And this is I kind of think, like, I'm not attracted at all to the Saw movies, for instance.
Yeah.
I
The torture
I,
porn.
I find it disturbing. Knock yourself out if you like them, but I sort of think, are the Predator crowds sort of looking for more of the same? Because this one's decidedly different, but there is
Well, I
the
think
action, there is
the math shows you,
yeah, yeah,
you know?
and without even
Like,
really a big advertising, like, it just sort of dropped, didn't it?
yeah,
Just sort of came out in, like, after Halloween, I believe,
yeah.
and it still made 100 million, or whatever the final figure was.
185 is the last I
Yeah,
saw on a
including international.
$100 million
So
budget, you know?
yeah, yeah. So and evidently there'll be some sort of sequel, but well, at least according to the last few minutes of this one. But yeah, no, it's.
Well,
I mean, I love it. I
I
love the
read that
decision. I love the path.
Trachtenberg, I think it was Patrick Willems, is referring to an interview Trachtenberg did. Put it as a joke. I'm not.
What's that?
He put the last line in
Oh,
that's my mother, as a joke. It's not a setup for a sequel.
oh, it's not. Oh,
Well,
okay.
and you look at all
Oh,
his movies, he really is. Patrick Willems, in the last three, and I recommend this advisedly. He's part of that Nebula crowd, Jim, and
okay.
they're all AI rotten, but he did this 3 hours on legacy sequels and franchises and that. I do have a link in the description to his most recent one, because he was saying let franchises die.
Mm,
And he even refers to Alien Romulus. Um and he goes and he makes a solid argument, but even as I'm listening to it, because I was prepping for this show, Jim, I was like,
mhm.
yeah, but what about this? This one's different.
Yes, yeah.
And then when he hits on this, he's like, this one's different. This is why it's different. And this is why it's good. And his argument was that, and of course, I'm summarizing here, paraphrasing, shrinking out down an hour ramble to this ramble, this 5-minute ramble to get to my point. He makes the argument that the great thing about this is it's an episode within a larger universe, but it's just an episode. It doesn't have a continuity it's obsessed with. It doesn't have characters that just kept reappearing. It's like, no, this is a different take on Predator within this universe. And there's this Weyland-Yutani thing, but we don't see, what is that? Daniel, I think, the creepy synth
Oh,
in Prometheus, and the
oh
other,
God.
yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
That the ones that I cannot, I just Alien Covenant and Alien Prometheus. It's just movies I cannot abide. Um,
Yeah.
and I think that's the genius. And to do a sequel, to go, oh, we just need more of that. It's like, do you? Do we need more of Deck? Probably not.
It I'm a
achieved its
fan of the
objective.
I'm a fan of the one-off. Like, if this is all we get, it's perfect. Perfect little, not little, but perfect story.
Yeah,
And
a
ended.
ripping yarn with a sincerity, and there is more to it
Yeah.
because it is sincere.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, I hope that all reports are that they don't, that those powers that be go, yeah, Trachtenberg's got a point. We have a property. We can do Predator movies. We can do Predator Alien mashups. We don't need oh, we got to have this character in the larger multi-episode arc. It's not television. Or if it is, it's episodic television, like true episodic television.
Yeah.
Columbo is not, oh, and he's going through his divorce and, will his kid? No, Columbo comes in, we see a crime, Columbo figures it out. And scene. you know,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I was just looking up, trying to look up Walter Chaw, who's a great follow. He's a film critic and teacher down in Colorado, and he said the more times I watch this movie, this is a guy who, by the way, watched I think 860 movies last year. So he's kind of crazy like that. But
I'm sorry,
he
but
says
I'm going to draw. So for sakes. Okay, continue.
he said maybe that's high, but anyway, it's in the multi hundreds. He said the more times I watch this, the more I love this movie. I'm paraphrasing. I couldn't find the exact quote on Blue Sky, but yeah, yeah, if they did have a sequel, I'd still go and see it. But yeah, if this is all there is, beauty, like just it's almost it would almost be admirable for them just to leave it alone.
Jim, let me ask you this. This movie certainly has a number of things it's saying, it's selling to its audience. And by selling, the best propaganda is that which is so entertaining you don't even know you're getting propagandized. Yeah. And I'm not saying propaganda in a dark, creepy sense.
Recruiting.
Yeah, but I do I've always said film is part of our cultural education, our continuing cultural education.
Mm-hmm.
And this thing there is an education going on here. It is aimed predominantly at young men, boys, teen boys who are trying to figure out how to be a man. What do you think this film, because there's so much stuff going on here. What do you think, Trachtenberg? What do you think the film says about strength? Physical and otherwise.
There was this down in the States a few years back. There was this whole, I think Hillary Clinton started it. It takes a village, it takes more, it takes people, it takes a community, et cetera, to build whatever, to raise a family, to build a business, that kind of thing. So
not only was Rome not built in a day, it was not built by Caesar or definitely any of those nobles.
Nope,
slaves.
Nope. But
okay, sorry.
The right wing response to that was, I did this all by myself. I don't know if you remember that. Remember, it went on for about 3 to 6 months, and he goes, I own a glove and rope business. I make my own stuff. I did it all myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So nobody delivers your stuff, and nobody built the roads to deliver your stuff, and none of the suppliers
educated
were
out in the wild.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, this
not even a wolf pack would take me.
There might have even been songs. I did it by myself, like stupid country songs or something to that effect. I think this is, I don't know. I don't think this is written with that in mind, but I think it's acknowledging the fact that, it takes more than one person to create a life. I mean, you literally can't do it on your own. Almost everything that Dex says is sort of turned to Yautja hunt alone. Yautja don't need help. Use me as a tool. Okay, tool, come along.
Awesome lines in this movie, and you say, "Yeah, Yautja do all this stuff." And in Thea's words, when they first meet, it's like, "Yautja die alone too."
Yes, yeah.
That everyone who's gone to this planet, and he is the runt to the litter. That means bigger Yautja, bigger predators have gone, all dead.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and various probably levels of competence as well, but or specialty, and not one of them.
Yeah.
not one of them made it. He sees bones. I didn't get quite a good look at him, but I think it was an animal in the razor glass grass or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, no. So all these things are sort of thrown back in his face, and I think
Yeah.
eventually he's like, maybe these people have a point. So it's that illusion of the strength of the illusion of the ultimate strength of the
Yeah.
individual.
What
I think that's sort of what it's.
yeah, and I almost like I don't want to say Trachtenberg's directly critiquing the original one,
Oh no, no.
but it is a big contrast with the original one,
Yes, yeah,
where Arnie now he has to accept that he's not strong enough. Like, and that's a different kind of dealing with masculinity.
yeah, yeah,
Um, he does have to figure out that he's got to figure it out, that he
yeah, yeah,
cannot, that he is not going to be able to the the prey the the prey has to become the predator, but he's got to do it with his smarts,
yeah, yeah,
you know. But it's still this that he is a lone man. Uh the terrorist they capture, get to the chopper.
oh yeah.
She
What's her name?
is not a ooh, was recently in Blue Beetle, a movie that I think did not get the credit it deserved. Um, but she is not she doesn't help him.
Mhm.
She is the baggage, the feminine baggage to be protected. Whereas Thea is literally the opposite. She is baggage for the first half of the film, but she is needed as much
Yeah,
as Deck doesn't want to admit it,
mhm.
you know?
Yeah, yeah, and in the first place, I think there's a little bit of a criticism or an unveiling of the predator culture. Thea says, I
Yeah.
find your culture fascinating. Like it's a thing that it's sort of, it evolves like anything else, but it's essentially in stasis. It's this super hyper masculine, competitive, adversarial kind of society. But at the same time, when the fights Quay, the
Yeah.
brother, he doesn't do it straight off. He has to put on his bloody cloak
Yeah.
of invisibility,
He's got to
which is
cheat.
which is not courageous. It's not. It's kind of a weasel move, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And he
it
justifies it by saying the other is weak,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
By
I will cheat because the rules don't have to apply to you. Again, another I suspect unintentional, but still a reference to our timeline.
yeah, 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 and you have to sort of think that is their way of life sustainable? Like, is this something that's carried them through 10,000 years, or is this a recent development because they're mighty? They turned
Yeah.
into this kind of thing, and they're very good at destroying things. Like, even though Deck doesn't have all the experience, he knows when he's being fought with a machine. He knows how to get after it. When he's fought
Yeah.
with a bigger thing, he's not afraid. He'd get under it. He's fighting a
Well,
giant
there's a
beast or
great
something.
scene in the Razor Glass where he's like, "You give up too easily,"
Yes, he said
you
that a
know?
couple times.
Yeah, he's like,
You give up too
he's
easy.
relentless. We do
Yeah,
see some virtues or so, what's overall I would argue a vice, and I think the film argues it, is still it's like, well, that's stick-to-itiveness. That is
yeah.
admirable. That's an
It's
admirable character trait of this run to the litter who's always been picked on, is like you give up too easy. This guy does not give up.
and there's creativity involved too, and there's like
Yeah.
problem solving and ways to chop down the tree to get to the biggest tree to
Yeah.
get to the beast and all that kind of thing. But in the and if you're watching this from an environmental perspective, just the killing of animals and the destroying of forests and things, and you're kind of like and then he
But it's
realizes, then
only the Whalen
he uses
Yutani.
all that stuff. He goes back into the
Yeah.
forest because he's learned from it, and then he uses it to turn it
Well,
against
what does Quay
the
want him to
army.
do? One of the use the cave.
Yes, yeah,
You know, it's we see all the problems right at the beginning. Like a
yeah,
good storytellers will make sure that we know enough of the issues so that we can understand how frustrating it is that he won't get it until he finally gets it. And I
yeah.
think that's the you were saying, I think in our See It or Skip It, how much you enjoyed that part of a movie.
Oh,
You know,
like
that when he
what, like
starts
in
to
the third
figure it
act?
out, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
and he goes he goes he goes back into the forest, but I think it's so sad or where that is most satisfying is where the storytellers, the filmmakers have set it up properly early in the first act. And I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's another yeah, it's laying pipe and seeing it again is kind of boring because it's not this is not it's not as emotionally satisfying yet, but
mhm.
you know that you got into it still later shows how effective it was.
Oh yeah, yeah. And like you're just,
Yeah.
once you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm back. I'm into this.
Yeah.
This is awesome. And we just saw it 2 months ago, so
Yeah.
I don't often watch movies in succession like that. But yeah, sometimes for this show, if just to freshen up,
Yeah. Well, and
But
I think
yeah,
especially when we're trying to get a deeper thing, you got to kind of okay, I've had my fun, I've gotten the emotional hit.
yeah,
Now it's time to okay, what's going on? Why was it so effective?
yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
There's a great shot when it comes together that I just noticed again tonight. It was just it's sort of a like a almost a
Yeah.
side pan where he's creeping up on
Tracking shot. Yeah.
the base at night, and all they show is his lower half of his body, and it shows the razor grass that he's collected and sort of all the weapons that he's
Yeah.
made, but they don't show his head. They just show him crouching,
Yeah.
and then they show all the army of drones in behind, and you're just like, that's such a great way. You're like, okay, let's go. Like,
Yeah.
let's go. This is going to be awesome.
I
And
want to come back to that, Jim, because you were talking about that. You've talked about it in other shows we've done about, you know, the the easy to kill drone. You
mhm,
know, I am I think there's something I think it works, or at least it works for me, is the yeah, there are legitimate criticisms of this warrior culture, this hunter culture, this hyper individualist, hyper masculine culture. And I think the fact that he comes back with a child and he comes back with a family, a woman,
woman.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah, like it's there's it's not perfect,
yeah,
but he comes back a direct challenge to the culture he came from. The other culture he conflicts with is the hyper-capitalist one that, Whalen Yutani
yeah,
represents, and these are just as, when I say the United States, folks, I'm not talking about Americans. You know what? We're in solidarity with you. We're all getting screwed by the same bastards. Um, but the government and its willingness, its subs many Obama did it, Biden did it, Trump did it, Bush did it, sending up drones to do that fighting, to pacify a thing, and then resource extraction. And when you're talking about the environment, there's oh, it is better in degree. It's better compared to the other. I don't, yeah, it's not good, but it is better compared to the other. It is a guy, at least in the environment. Whereas Whale and Yutani and those drones, they're not doing that. When they find evidence of his spacecraft in that, what do? They just burn the place down with flamethrowers.
yeah, yeah,
You know, it's just immediate and horrible and total right there.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and that I think is also like by bringing Whalen Yutani in, it is a and you got to be careful there because a lot of these chuds think this too. Oh, I'm not in the corporate thing, and they're just corporate drones, literally. You
yeah,
know, but
yeah,
it's not an illegitimate critique either. Like, I mean, it's exactly what these big corporations, these resource extractors, that's what they do. That's all they see. It's
Yeah.
like, can we get what we want out of this place cost effectively? You
Mhm.
know, United States, the administration goes into Venezuela and says, we're taking your oil. Your oil is our oil, ours. And we'll take our stuff here for my benefit, you know? And then, of course, the oil company saying, which I don't care. The oil companies aren't laughing at Trump, although they probably are. Just wait. They'll be saying, well, we'll never get our money back out of that place. So all of a sudden, the United States will be financing, taxpayer dollars will be financing the modernization of Venezuelan oil infrastructure to benefit these American corporations. The American working class will get poorer out of this. Because
Oh yeah.
that's what the oil companies are softening him up for. And what does he care? Money's going to steal from the American people.
Everything's coming
That's
up
way
roses.
off of way
Yeah.
off of track. Okay, before we geez, this movie's got so many great lines. This is it's just before the halfway point, and it's just before one of those great walking scenes.
Mhm.
He has, of course, ditched what we learn later is the
Bud.
Calyx young. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Bud. He says, she goes, what about Bud? Bud. That's what I
but,
called him.
um, but Thea says to him, it's like, who would want to survive on their own?
Yeah.
Like it really is a call for community. Cause that's the thing, like, why it's got a weird kind of family thing at the end. It is also really a community because the
Mhm.
woman isn't his partner, like in
Yeah, I
that
know.
sense. They're a crew, maybe kind of a shout out to found family, Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibe.
Yeah, yeah.
But there is a different idea of community there.
When we first started this podcast, we were like, you would ask me something like, "Oh, what do you think the mood, the theme of this movie is?" And I think, found family. It was like that for about the first 4 or 5 movies. I'm like, is every movie about found family? Like, like, can't. How have I not noticed this before? But I mean, yeah, you're not right. You're not wrong. The Thea is also almost sort of his wife by proxy. There's very proud wife vibes at the end where she goes,
Yeah.
"You finally earned your cloak, deck of the Yautja," and not in a bad way, like in a sort of a like she's genuinely proud of
Well,
him.
I am wondering though, because like I'm gonna say not wife.
No,
Let
yeah,
me
but
let
I
me
mean,
no
just
no let
like
me let
there's
me
some
let
sort
me
of
say what I think it is family wise.
sure,
I just think wife isn't the right label. Let us
yeah,
use the label that works within this film that we've already been given. Is she is the sister as Quay
oh
was,
yeah, yeah,
because they've both lost
the
siblings.
siblings, yeah, yeah,
You know, one and to horrible parents.
hmm
Thea and Tessa have Mother, the computer that represents Wayland Yutani. You got that horrible father,
yeah,
and Quay, and they're both in a way murdered,
mhm,
dead by the parent. You know,
yeah,
um,
yeah,
and it is in that, and Tessa sort of chooses to make Mother happy, whereas Quay chooses to sacrifice himself for his brother, but they're both dead.
mhm.
So all of a sudden there's Thea and Deck, and I think they're siblings.
There's an
They're brother
yeah,
and sister there.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so she can be proud, but partly because she is part of, raise she helped him see the emotional light,
yeah.
you know?
There's a familial
Yeah.
pride going on there. Another interesting thing about the script is that
Plus, it was a great fucking line. So
yeah, yeah.
many great damn
Oh, I know.
lines.
Uh, father is referred to as father, mother as mother. They never
Yeah,
say my mother, my father.
yeah.
They're referred to. He refers to his dad as father.
Yes.
And there's no article before that throughout the whole
That's
movie,
a
and that's
great,
sort of an
yeah. That
that's sort of an interesting subtlety I
yeah.
thought that I noticed this time.
And
Uh,
and that's why I think they're weird kind of, and just as he's could you argue, and this is I mean, I'd love to hear a Black American's take on this, but given the hair and everything, he is definitely, seems to me, this white boy in Canada, as coded as black. Whereas Thea and Tessa, they are white.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
high, like crazy bleach blonde, white clothing, you know, like you got that going on there.
mhm.
And it is only later that she dons black clothing,
Oh yeah, yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Um, I mean,
Yeah.
mind you, all the other drones are black except for Tessa, so
Well,
who
and
knows, you
sort
know?
of that dreadlocky hair that they kind of have, like
Well, this
he's
is
wearing it in a certain way, and then the young man who plays him is, I believe, Maori.
yeah,
And then the young man, I literally have to read it because it's a big long name, but the young man also plays, is it the voice of his own father. I don't know if you
yeah.
noticed that in
I
the
did not.
credits. So
No.
that's kind of neat. But
All I'm
uh,
thinking is there's a producer's like, hey, could I get you paying peanuts to also do this
yeah,
for the same
yeah.
peanuts
By
that
the
we're already
way,
paying you?
who was the guy who did Gimli in Lord of the Rings? John Rhys Davies.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, anybody want to do the end voice? What? You got half an hour? You know, like do some Foley work? I don't know, but
Little
uh,
ADR.
yes, exactly. But yeah, and the dad also has sort of those. He's got the beard of a Minnesota Vikings fan. I don't know, with the little braided things,
Yeah.
but he's also got dreadlocks. So I think they're trying to have it both ways,
Yeah.
perhaps. Demetrius Schuster-Koloamatangi
Yeah.
is the young guy opposite Elle Fanning in this. So I have to say though too before we wrap it up is that uh, this is impressive in other ways. The character design we've seen a lot of. Well, first of all, the very first Predator
Yeah.
was kind of a mind blower when we first saw him all those years ago with fighting against Arnie in the jungle. Um, so just that alone is still an awesome looking alien. But the individual character design here is something you can easily mix up, but they make them distinctive enough. And if you compare
And
like the father to the son,
expressive enough.
oh my God, those eyes, those
Yeah.
golden eyes throughout the whole thing. He's got the helmet on, you can see the eyes through them. At the end when he's sort of mounting the night raid,
Well, even when he
such
dawns on him
expression.
that his own father wanted to kill him,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
it's like he's gonna die, and he's looking plain.
He's gonna,
Like, how could you not
yeah.
feel for him as he's looking at his own brother?
And it
You know?
translates facially too.
Yes. Oh,
Even with all the sort of the extra teeth and mouths and stuff like that, is
yeah.
that this is actually like I don't know. I was just again I was impressed with the production design, the character
Oh, yeah.
design, the look of it, and the ability to convey this as well.
Well,
And yeah, those eyes throughout the whole movie. I just kept on writing down those eyes, those golden eyes. They, and they're so shaded, or they're suspicious, or they're proud, or they're
soulful.
scared, or
Yeah.
very soulful.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So well done by whatever team worked on that.
One more thing before we kind of try and answer overarching question. I do have a video I want to show
Sure.
before we try and answer that. I did want to ask you, and this goes to what you're talking about, I think, the look of the place and how, and I said it before, I keep coming to over the arc of the film, but by the time we get to the halfway point, almost before we get to the Kalisk Den, Jenna, the Death Planet, or Yocha go to die in a fool's errand.
As heroes.
Yeah, yeah, heroes. He that we start seeing more and more scenery. The place looks, yes, it's deadly, but it's also beautiful.
Yeah.
What 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 do you think we're supposed to take? I've got some ideas. I know what I did take from it. I've got some ideas on Trachtenberg's or the film's what it's saying there, but I wanted to know what you thought of that. Because by that midpoint, you're like, wow, this is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely had. I mean, despite kind of one of the things involved, maybe it's me being old, but I'm like, they have a couple scenes where they're looking out over this incredible space valley, with like huge waterfalls and sort of super pointy mountains. And I thought, "Ugh, this is going to be quite a hike down." Like I was just like, imagine how much walking you have to do. So my knees are going to be killing me. But so that was
It
about
is
my.
a young it is a boy
Yeah,
becoming a man story, not an old man
yeah,
going on
exactly.
a long hike
Oh,
story.
I'm going to need some water. Um, but it looked for
Sorry, I imagine us being dropped there going, "Oh, I don't need the monsters, just a hike up the rock's gonna kill
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Where's my
exactly.
blood pressure medication?
Exactly. Yeah, no.
Whale and Yutani, save me, I need a canteen."
I'll do anything. Yeah, I mean, I didn't pick out anything necessarily thematic in it. Only that it was like super dangerous, and I thought, oh my gosh, how far are they gonna have to go through this? But then also with the Wayland Yutani presence, is you think, boy, how long is this planet have before it's turned into a mud planet, or just sort of like a.
Well,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
do
So I would
see
think
where
kind of
they
came across
are,
it
it becomes
environmental.
very warehouse,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
fence, boxes, trucks, people with guns marching, that's it. Um,
So if anything, I came at it from an environmental, like, oh, this place has, months to live.
I I maybe that's an interesting point. Like, I mean, I think it symbolizes something. As dangerous it is at the beginning, as he is physically starting to adapt to the place. He hasn't learned his lesson yet, but he is starting to. It's even Thea talks about it, how they're all kind of they've all evolved to, in a weird way, work together. The way and there are real animals here on Earth who do this, but the way one of the flying monsters uses rocks to set off,
Oh yeah.
the poison needle thing,
Yeah.
for poor schmucks who just wandered into that field of poison needle plant things, you know, the nature is not bunny rabbits and, but it's still beautiful. And I think
Yeah. Oh yeah.
as we start to realize it's a whole planet and whole organism, that it starts to become beautiful,
Yeah.
not just this place of
Uh-huh.
threat and horror,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
also a place justified just through its own existence.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would last on it for about 5 minutes. But
Oh yeah.
interestingly too,
Again,
he he
we'd
de-
be done.
he actually develops a tiny 10-minute relationship with that little sort of that
The the
rushing river
spitting
worm,
whatever
who
thing.
eventually gets in between him and a bullet,
Yeah.
and that makes him really mad.
Yeah.
Like the worm takes the bullet for the
Yeah.
fish, takes the bullet from him, and he goes like
Yeah.
he's like, that's it, no more Mr. Nicey out ya.
Yeah.
And
Because he's been so nice up to that
exactly.
point. Well, and I think there's these, I mean, I think that's part of it, that it is an environment and everything's trying to survive. And while it can see dog eat dog, it's like there's a weird balance going on there, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
Um, all right, Jim, I think I could talk more about this film, but
Oh yeah.
both you and I have lives to return to.
Mhm.
Um, I did ask the question at the beginning, is he a good guy? He's the good guy, but is he a good guy? Um, is he, and maybe I'm going to expand that definition. Is he heroic? Again, it's aimed at young men. I think it is in a way a movie to say, here is how you can be a good guy, not a nice guy, but a good guy. Somebody you can be counted on, who can do the right thing. But we are in the darkest timeline, Jim. Um, I want to play this video for you. The creator, Anna Marie Cox, she did it's basically a, what's the word I'm looking for here? It is a cut, an edit of a thing out of the second season of Andor, the end of Andor. I think it comes right out of the last episode. But also of images coming out of the United States. And so, with your permission, I'm going to play that. I'm going to play that right now.
Certainly.
I'm assuming you've heard it before.
It's been hard to contain.
Just keep spreading, doesn't it? There will be times when the struggle seems impossible. I know this already. Alone, unsure, dwarfed by the scale of the enemy. Remember this. Freedom is a pure idea. It occurs spontaneously and without instruction. Random acts of insurrection are occurring constantly throughout the galaxy. There are whole armies, battalions that have no idea that they've already enlisted in the cause. Remember that the frontier of the rebellion is everywhere. And even the smallest act of insurrection pushes our lines forward. And then remember this. The Imperial need for control is so desperate because it is so unnatural. Tyranny requires constant effort. It breaks. It leaks. Authority is brittle. Oppression is the mask of fear. Remember that. And know this. The day will come when all these skirmishes and battles, these moments of defiance will have flooded the banks of the Empire's authority. And then there will be one too many. One single thing will break the siege. Remember this. Try.
Thank you, Ms. Cox, for putting that together and let me sharing it on our show here. Jim, I think of that young woman, well, young for us, woman in her 30s, children of her own. This is not
Small
some
child.
kid, married, leaving behind a widow, children. And I think there is, you hear the line, religion is a great thing for good people and a terrible thing for bad people. And I think of Ms. Good, there is somebody who is walking the good Christian walk. And Yeah, there's a woman who had all the strength required, who even at the end was, "I'm not mad at you," and murdered by a weak chud.
Yeah.
Just shot dead. But I can say, now there's a fucking hero. Not the chud, but that woman.
Yeah.
There is a good person. Yeah. And so when I look at these movies, and these movies aimed at young men and boys about how to be a man, and I'm like, where is it at its heart how to be a good guy? Just as Renee Nicole was good. Not just in name,
Yeah.
but in fucking deed.
Yeah.
And well, of course, this isn't that kind of movie, but I think for something that is aimed at young men, saying, "Hey, here's a way to be." I'm not sure it meets the standard of Renee Nicole Good, or many of the others we will not learn about, who have faced down in the United States or in Iran or in Palestine or in Congo, in Ukraine, faced down these fucking pieces of shit.
Mm-hmm.
And who have died or injured or disappeared. But her and her comrades say, now that's good. There are good guys. And it is in this context, because we are not in a vacuum here, is Deck a good guy? What do you think? I've got some thoughts, but I wanted to hear yours.
Sure. You know, my one of the things that I found was interesting was the death of his father. So they have a duel at the end.
Yeah.
And you know, he wounds his father pretty badly. He wins the fight despite the weasel father using the invisibility cloak. But it's interesting that he doesn't deliver the final blow. And I was, as I was watching the scene, I thought, doesn't this guy lose his head? Does in American cinema, do they actually let Deck cut his own father's head off? So he wounds them. He sort of wounds him, chops off his arm, just like he did to Quay, just like the father cut off his other son's hand. And then he sort of gets him on his knees. And then the father Weasley said in a real weasel way, perhaps I killed no, he doesn't even say, perhaps I killed the wrong son. Perhaps the wrong son died. Right. He can't even admit it to it in that. He's using that sort of Nazi generic voice.
Kind of a passive
verb, like, oh, perhaps I killed it. No. He doesn't say that. He just, anyway.
Well, it's mistakes were made.
Yes, yeah.
She got in front of the bullets of my gun.
Yeah, exactly.
If she didn't want to go that way, she wouldn't have been what?
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Sorry.
The next shot is of Deck taking whatever pointed weapon he has, hitting his father. Like there's a silhouette.
Yeah.
Them against the sort of the light of the morning, and he sort of, poof, and he you think, okay, that's the coup de grace. That's when but he's just doing that to take his father's helmet off. And then he says something to him, and he says, I don't, I have my own crew now, or I have my own clan.
Yeah.
And then Bud, the Kalisk, sneaks up behind him and chops the dad's head off. So that's classic Hollywood coding,
Kind
where
of.
Peter Parker can't kill the guy who killed Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Especially in that Tobey Maguire movie, the guy trips and falls to his death.
Yeah.
Like heroes aren't allowed. So in the very basic sense of the term, heroes aren't allowed to do something like that.
Yeah.
Something else has to kill the father. And even in this, as sort of like, I mean, this has rules, but as sort of free and easy as this is, and as brutal as it can be, they don't even allow Deck to kill the dad himself. It's got to be another. Even though he might have asked nicely Bud to chop, eat his father's head, he still doesn't do the act himself. So in one sense, you can still say, well, he didn't kill his father, but I think in another, and I don't think that's what you were talking about, but I think,
But no, I think it's a good point. It's an interesting thing to bring up. We are talking about the character. It's Deck doesn't exist, but there is this character who symbolizes a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
you know, and I think that's important to talk about what the
filmmakers takes a while to
will and won't let a character do, so that they can keep them clean in a way.
And you see this all the time. If it's somebody in jail for a crime, if it's a breakout movie, chances are is that the prisoner didn't commit the crime in an American movie, right? It's got to be an innocent guy who breaks out, and not all the time, but a large portion of the time. But anyway, so in another sense, it takes Deck a while to get there, but he eventually does, and he's able to. He can sympathize with other characters, and he can embrace other characters. Oh, and there's the spit. He spits on Bud, just like Bud spit on him to mark him. There's the head, the forehead touching with the mother or father Kalisk. And so all these little things, it does take him a while to get there, but he eventually embraces this found family of his. And defends him, and I know you didn't like this simile or the metaphor in the first place, but the wolf protecting the clan, I think it's effective here.
Yeah,
that's a whole other.
And what I don't like is the alpha. Like they just need to eliminate that language. But at the very least, it attempts to we got to get rid of the whole idea of the alpha as domineering.
Yes,
you know. So your answer, good, qualified, okay.
Oh yeah. Eventually, but yes.
Yeah. Well, it is it's on a journey.
Mm-hmm.
They can't start good, although there's seeds of good. He becomes a good guy. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is a good guy. But. And this is the thing that I think is missing from a lot of these narratives, especially, again, aimed at young men. Because I don't think there's anything in his journey that you can relate to what, say, Renee Good did. And I'm sure she got up that morning. Her and her wife didn't go, oh, we might get shot today. That was not part of their thing. But they were getting up and getting into they're challenging their own community. Unlike, Deck always wanted to be part of the community.
Mm-hmm.
It's only at the end that he rejects the community. Renee Good is doing that incredibly difficult work of challenging your own community to be better, to challenge the evil within it. So I would say he's a good guy, but he's not as good as Renee Good. That these films have a hole there. If they really, it's one of those things where it's like, I think there are virtues here that a boy becoming a man or a young man can kind of go, oh, it's got a point there. I'm not here on my own. None of us are, there's only so many steroids he can take. And like the all this being the big strong guy who can bully everyone ain't gonna work. I think that's the great thing about Anna Marie Cox's great cut of Nemec's weird eulogy
Yeah.
for Ms. Good. Anna's genius is in identifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this film, I think that's, again, it's a whole, you know, but is he a good guy? Yeah, I think in the end, he's a good guy, of course, within the constraints. And yeah, if you're not into hunting, he will never be a good guy because he's still a hunter.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, it's a slight, it's not a big critique of hyper masculinity, but it's not as strong a critique as I'd say Love and Monsters is.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, for a predator, and especially to make, like you say, to turn it on its head, there's other great things going on here. You know, it's worthy of examination. You know,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course, there are things where I'm like, even as we're talking about it, it's like, oh, he is coated black, and well, she's obviously white. Ooh.
Yeah.
You know, I do. I suddenly want to reach out to black film analysts and go, what's your take? Because
Yeah.
if this white guy is like, oh, that might be, I suspect a black person will go, oh, Robert, let me tell you, tick, tick, tick. Anyway,
Yeah.
all right. Jim, anything else you want to add before we wrap it up? We have been, I mean,
Yeah. It's longer than the movie. We're back to that, baby.
Oh, we're not, are we? No, we got another 10 minutes before
Not
that's
including.
the
We'll
running
wait till the
time.
credits.
And we talked about the Golden Globes. We talked about The Secret Agent. We're not
Yeah. Oh yeah.
totally
Yeah.
bad. And I think this movie was worth the chat.
Well, you know, Thea says when she's appealing to Tessa, we can be better than what is asked of us, which is sort of when she's sort of bargaining for her life there, and appealing to her better nature, which doesn't exist in Tessa anyway.
Yeah.
Also, I should mention that the sound design of this, like the Predator language is kind of phenomenal. And you can notice, like, I isolated a couple words, not sure what they were. And when they're addressing each other in the family, they have like almost like a rolling R, like a and I think that's like a more formal form of speech when he's addressing his father. It's just anyway, just another way in which this movie's like super well
build
done.
that. Well, especially it's so difficult in films like this where you just know it's not real.
Yeah.
You know, you know it. So there's a removal of stakes right there, or a potential removal of stakes. And it's that adds to that feeling of immersion, but it's also coming back to it. It's character. It's how could you not feel for him? His dad rejected him.
He's a sad little predator. He's like sitting there, and he was like, I was like, oh,
you need these things to grab onto, for your heart to grab onto, you know, and Thea, without somebody saying, oh, who would want to live alone? You know, who would want this? It's got to keep reminding you that it's still about this young man trying to figure out his way after being kicked out of the house.
Yeah.
And an attempted murder.
Take your music with you.
Here, let me help you by slitting your throat with it. All right. Well, on that note, folks, thank you very much for watching, for checking us out. Of course, please like and subscribe, and maybe ringy-ding that bell.
All right. Get Yautja work night. Yautja needs 6 hours of sleep.
Yeah. All right. Okay.